Thank you everyone for joining us for our third session of the Employer's Playbook for Talent. I'm excited today to be joined by Carrie Nagel from Schneider. Before we get started, I will just quick mention that Carrie does have some interaction opportunities today, so please feel free to join in the chat to participate in the different types of polls that she has. We want to make this as interactive and beneficial for you, so by all means, do please participate along the way. Other than that, we do ask that you please keep your microphone muted during her presentation. When she has questions and wants to open up for discussion, Carrie will share that with you. That's all I have today. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Carrie. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, everyone. So I'm so excited to be here today and really excited for the opportunity to talk to you today and share information from Schneider's perspective on how we really invest in our associates and what we look to do as far as succession planning for our associates in the organization. So want to introduce myself, give you a little bit of a background. So my name is Carrie Nagel. I obviously work for Schneider. I've been with the organization coming up on 10 years. And it's been a whirlwind since I started at Schneider. So I am currently the Operations Talent and Development Manager in our STM, or Schneider Transportation department, which is our logistics side of the business. So I am extremely passionate about training and talent and development. It's something that has been really impactful and important to me since I was little. So we're going to talk all things succession planning today. Before I jump into giving you a little bit more details about my background, we're going to jump in right away, have a little fun, start off in the chat. So we're talking about succession planning, right? We're talking about career planning, those next steps. I'm going to ask you a question. When we're little, we always get asked that question of, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I'm curious to hear from you. I'm going to throw my response in the chat as well. But I would like you to put a GIF in the chat of, what did you want to be when you were younger? So when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? As a kid, what was your response? So throw a GIF in the chat of what you wanted to be. All right. Oh, a fellow teacher. I as well wanted to be a teacher. That was my thing growing up. I would always go downstairs in the basement. I'd play school. I'd have papers, all that kind of stuff. We've got a vet. What else? Rock star. Love it. Another vet. Sam. All right. I don't know about you, but when I was always asked, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I really looked to, like, what did I know? My mom was in the education field. So it was something that I always played house or school since I was little. And so that for me was I want to be that. Now, show of hands, how many of you changed your initial what you wanted to be? I feel like some that are in the vet space, that kind of stuff. Yep. Right. So through that time, what you wanted to be definitely changed from when you were younger. Totally part of kind of that career development, right? Succession planning. So when we think about succession planning, you know, I have a coworker who still continues to say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And it's totally true. We are continuously growing and developing in what we thought we wanted to do. we definitely may have changed career paths. And I know for myself, that was definitely that's something that had changed. So I went to college for education, graduated, started as a middle school science teacher. So I continued down that path for quite some time. And then decided to move into the corporate world and go into and work for a business. And Schneider happened to be that business that I wanted to jump in and give things a try in a totally different way. And so I started off in our recruiting space, in our driver recruiting space, and did some work in HR on the compliance side of things. And while I was there, I realized that I still really wanted and kind of looked for that helping, supporting, teaching aspect. And I still wanted that to be correlated with what I did. And so I transitioned from that role into our enterprise learning and development team, and worked there for just shy of 5 years. And then recently actually just transitioned into this operations talent and development manager position. But I can definitely tell you that when I was teaching, I thought that was it. And that was what I was going to do the rest of my life. And then realized that there were so many other different opportunities and different things that I could really use my strengths and still what I was passionate about, from a totally different level. So we're really going to talk about and focus on the succession planning, and really look at it from, you know, what people initially see and think is their passion. As they start to dive into it, may realize that there's a ton of other opportunities out there. So what I am going to do is I am going to share my screen to get started. And then we're also going to get logged into a different program as well. So let me get my screen up and running here for you. All right. Okay. So I'm going to give you a very vague number. 1%. So 1%. As we think about succession planning, as we think about growing and developing, this is totally broad, but I want you to throw in the chat, what do you think that 1% signifies? I know it's very vague. Possibilities are endless. What do you think that 1% could be? Ooh, the number of people who stay in their position for their entire careers. I like that thought. Let's see if we can get one or two more guesses out of this. I appreciate those that are brave enough to guess because it's a pretty broad percentage. The amount of talent in the pipeline for advancement. Okay. The number of companies that have succession plans. Okay. So as we think about this 1% of people who do what they want to do for a living. All right. So like I said, totally broad percentage, right, for you. But the percentage of a typical work week where employees focus on their training and development. Now, as someone who is so passionate about learning and education and growth and development of associates, this number just kills me. But I also get it. Because I see those schedules, I see those workloads, I see what's going on. So the challenge in our organizations is, how do we create an environment where our associates feel like they have the time to go to the training and development, they have the time to focus on their professional development, their succession planning, what they want to do next. And so when we think about those opportunities, we have to start looking at, well, how are we creating that environment? Are we setting our associates up for success to understand that it's okay to do a sit-in? It's okay to take a training. It's okay if you're gone for a day. If you are building and learning and growing and developing and really pushing yourself. And sometimes we get so caught up from that business aspect that we just don't do it. So when we think about this, um, as HR associates, as individuals in talent and development, even as yourself, watch how much time you actually spend when you are looking at training and development and growth and development. Challenge yourselves to find opportunities to fit that in when you can. And how do you, if you're a leader of others or you're on a team, how do you show, hey, it's okay to take that time to really commit to yourself to be able to grow and develop? So when we think about succession planning, I'm going to switch gears here for a moment. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Um, Let me get my other screen up here. So what I'm going to have you do, and I know you've done this before, because I know that we had this opportunity in one of our other presentations, but what I would like you to go to is I would like you to go to menti.com. Or if you would like to use a QR code right on your screen and use it on your phone, you absolutely can do that as well. So go to www.menti.com. There is a code to enter in. And we're going to do a question related to succession planning. So we'll give people a few minutes to get jumped in. Awesome. All right. So as people are jumping in, the first thing I want to start off with is just to get an understanding of you personally. Okay. So as you think about your career development, we're going to ask this next question for you. So on your screen, you will have the opportunity to, thank you very much, Christopher. So as you jump in on your screen, you'll have the opportunity to answer this question. So when you think about succession planning for yourself, um, what are some things that you want your leader or the company to best support you? What are those things that stand out to you that you either have at your organization, between your leader or your organization, that you feel is really important? Or what are those things that are really important to you that maybe you don't have right now? I like it. Support, options, honesty, feedback, encouragement. You don't have to fill out all three slots either. So growth opportunities, communication, being open to change. Excellent. I love it. So these are a lot of things that we need to think about when we are looking for ways to help associates as they start to really look into succession planning and what does that look like. So growth opportunities, a lot of it's around just communication and the type of communication to really grow and support associates. Fantastic. So what we're going to do is I want to take some time to actually share with you information about what Schneider does. So one of the things that I feel that is really important to understand from a transportation industry is, and it kind of goes along with that being open to change. In the transportation industry for us, there are always things changing through initiatives, through innovation, technology. We are constantly changing. And we see the same in our associates, which is something that's really exciting. So growing, developing that whole succession planning with transitioning roles, it's something that's very common in our organization. Just like, so there was, Katie, you had said, hey, the percent of people who do what they love for a living, that 1%, The number of people who stay in the same position for their entire careers, Christopher, you had said that. That's really uncommon for us in our organization. So Schneider believes that there is so much value in the associates that we hire. We hire those top talents and we want to have them grow and develop and stay within our organization, share their knowledge and their talent, and really support them to share that with our organization from all different levels. And so because of that, we really put a lot of time and effort into um, finding opportunities to help support our associates through that succession planning. So, when you think about our organization, we have over 16,000 associates in our organization, and there's a ton of opportunities to move and grow. We always say in our organization, when you're looking at succession planning and career development, it's like rock climbing. It's not uncommon to see people, you know, taking a step to their right and trying something different to gain more experience and more knowledge and moving around the organization. And it's not something that we necessarily see where you see that ladder, right? You look for those opportunities to really grow and really find your niche and what you love to do. So when we think about succession planning in our organization, we tend to look at it from some building blocks or 3 different steps where we are supporting our associates. So the very first thing that we focus on is the explore portion. Everyone has career goals and wants to achieve those goals. And we want to make sure that we are setting up our associates to win. We're only as successful as our associates. What they do, their future, is our success as an organization. So the growth, development is truly essential. So when we think about exploring, it starts right away. And I know that sounds really weird, and I don't know if in your organizations you experience the same thing, but when someone takes on a new position, we start talking and having those conversations about what do you want to do next? So I transitioned into a new position in August of last year. And within the first few meetings with my leader, we were already having the conversation about, well, now what? And I went, oh my gosh, I don't know. I just got here, right? But it's something that for us is a continuous conversation that we have. And it starts right away because we want to know how can we support, grow, and develop you as associates. So when we think about the explore portion, it's really about understanding what do you want to be when you grow up, right? What do you want to do next? And our organization really looks at that relationship with leadership and having meetings to talk through that and having associates own those meetings and the content to discuss what do you want to do next? How can we support you? How can we help you? Usually these meetings are bi-weekly. And it's an opportunity to discuss performance and it's an opportunity to discuss development and growth and where we're going. And it really allows us to give that time to the associates to show that we're truly invested. So when we think about building blocks from an exploring standpoint, we're really looking at what opportunities do we have for you to better understand the organization, how your role is tied and connected to others, what other opportunities are there. So a lot of sit-ins and networking and things like that, just bringing visibility to see what else is out there. And whether you have a large organization, whether you have a small organization, understanding and doing those sit-ins shows opportunities. And it doesn't have to be, I want to go into this role. It can be, you know what, that's a really cool project. Is that something that I could be involved in? Is that something I could help with in addition to what I'm doing? So I think a big piece of this is, yes, succession planning is looking at those next steps, but those next steps don't have to be a change in your position. It's what other things can we challenge you and support you with to continue to grow in development. The other thing too, as we think about exploring, is really about that self-reflection. So taking a look at, tell me more about yourself. What do you like to do? What sounds good to you? What are things that really get you excited to come to work? Now, someone who is in a brand new position, it can be challenging to pull that information out because they're just trying to figure out what's going on with the new position that they've been at. But it's good to continue to have those conversations. So when I think about exploring, it's really about just figuring things out, learning more, and it's a lot of an investment between the leader and the associate. So I'm going to pause here because I want to get your thoughts. So what are some things as far as your organizations or what you've experienced that you do to just kind of explore and get an understanding of what else is out there? How do you either find that information within your own, or what are some things that your organization does to help individuals identify what are the possibilities? And I am up whether you want to come off of mute and share it or whether you want to throw it in the chat. Either option is wonderful because we have a small group. So it's pretty easy to do either way. I love that. So transparency with job descriptions. Absolutely. Stacey, I think going along with that too, when you think of that transparency, is really putting the time and effort into those job descriptions. So it truly showcases the role and the opportunities within the role. That's fantastic. Awesome. Love it. Regular meetings with my leader to discuss goals. Fantastic. Absolutely. And it's important that the leaders are invested, right? You have to feel that support. Networking through community groups, always pushing for your highest and best uses, leadership training. Excellent. I love all of that. So any way to just start to see what those possibilities and those opportunities are. And I think sometimes we're so focused on that next role that we don't realize, well, what are even the opportunities that we have within the organization, within our group, within our team, leadership opportunities, different things to grow and develop in specific areas that we don't see unless we really have those deep conversations. So when we think about these building blocks, one of the things that we really like to showcase is that self-reflection. Allow the associates some time to figure out, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do next? So one of the things that we really like to do is have them have that self-reflection. And there's a ton of different forms. There's a ton of different ways that you can reflect. What I wanted to pull is just something really simple to get individuals to start to think. Now, what I will say is a lot of individuals, when they first start out looking at like, what is that next role I want to do, or what do I want to do next? It's common to gravitate towards something like this. So this is similar to there's Foursquare activities or something like that. And what this does is it says, what do you like to do? And what are you good at? And then you look at what similarities are there between those. So top and bottom. And then on the left and right, we've got what am I not good at? What don't I like to do? And then take some comparison with that. Now, I can tell you when I first started with Schneider, this was something that I did to figure out where I wanted to go next. What people don't realize is it's good to continue to do this because as you grow within your roles, as you gain experience, as you, you know, shift roles and find what you do and don't like, things change. And I feel like we tend to go away from this once we have the experience. And it's really beneficial no matter who is taking a look at this to really think about this. So, one of the things that stands out for me, if I'm looking at this right now, what do I like to do? I love to be able to support associates, help set them up for success. Like that is that education, that support, that passion that I have, that's huge. What am I good at? Some of the things that stand out for me would be that coaching and developing others. There's a correlation there. What don't I like to do? I don't like repetition. So for me, some of those things that I need to look at are continuously changing. And it's something that in this type of format can be helpful whether you first start out or whether you've been in an organization forever. And we tend to forget that something as simple as this can really help. But I think it's really important to be able to have a form or some type of process to allow individuals to do it and be truly a self-reflection. Because I know, speaking for myself, my leaders would say, well, what do you like and what don't you like? And I'd throw a couple things out there, but it really didn't get me to truly think about it. So having that opportunity to kind of pull that information, reflect for yourself, is something that's really beneficial for your associates. And then it's really helpful to have that conversation. On the flip side, as an associate, this is really helpful because I can actually put down things so that when I have the conversation, it's right in front of me so I know what I want to talk about. So this document we will send out to you. I have a PDF version, so you can absolutely take it, use it, change it however you want, in addition to the PowerPoint as well. All right. So as far as exploring, that's really that first step, right? Just figuring out what's going on. So we have a lot of different resources. We have online resources through our own kind of, we have our internal sites that have a ton of resources that provide those job descriptions, that have different self-reflections to really help those associates that are starting to just try to figure out what they want to do next. Now, once that exploration phase is over and you kind of figure out these are the things that I like to do, we really jump into the preparation portion. And when I think about the preparation portion, this is really where a lot of time and effort is spent. So I love, Kristen, you brought out networking through the community, through those community groups, those training and leadership opportunities, all of those type of actionable items to get to that next step of actually applying for a position. That's where we are putting into the prepare section. So this is really where the associate puts in a ton of work to really figure out, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know kind of where I want to go. Now I want to try to figure out opportunities to grow. So when I think about opportunities within our organization, one thing that's really cool for our organization is that we have our own learning and development team that supports the enterprise. So we have a group of individuals that supports our driver group through training and support. We have an overall enterprise learning and development team that supports multiple different departments and teams and roles within the organization and really supports some of those more common themes as far as growth and development in leadership, whether it is helping to support individuals who are first interested to leadership or to help those leaders and those high potential associates move to that next level. And the amount of content that they create on a yearly basis is just absolutely crazy. And I know that not all organizations have the opportunity to have something like that, but there are a ton of resources out there that can really help to support your associates, and it's huge and super impactful. So when we think about it, our organization really invests in our associates and really has a whole team that is there to support and identify where the needs are for our associates to really help them grow and develop. You know, beyond having that learning and development team, there is a structure within our organization that really pushes associates. And it is up to the associate for the level that they want to commit to the process and how they want to take advantage of it. So I know that in another session, the same question is asked, but I'm going to ask it again. How many of you, either yourself or within your organization, have individual development plans or IDPs? So you can raise your hand. All right. 1, 2, we got a couple. Awesome. So when we think about that individual development plan, it's really focusing on how you are going to grow as an associate or as yourself, right? Now, each organization does it differently. Our organization really looks at it from, we like the number 2. So we like to look at what is an opportunity where you have a strength that you want to continue to build even stronger and get better. And then where is an area of opportunity where you want to develop? And so we really look at those 2 as a starting point for the associate to create their own individual development plan. The goal is it is an individual development plan, which means they are the ones creating it. They are working with their leader to say, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go with it. So each associate works with their leader to create that individual development plan. And then we really kind of focus on that with those frequent meetings, those biweekly meetings around there to talk about that. How are we doing? Where are we hitting it? Where do you need support? And then we do a couple of reviews halfway through the year. We do a year-end review. So we do both of them. Okay. So as our organization, those IDPs are really important. Obviously, we look at performance as well. But one of the things that I think is really helpful is we also have a set of core competencies or areas that we focus on that we feel are extremely important for our associates to have. And we look at those throughout the development as well. So when we think about our prepare, we've got networking as an opportunity. And I know that Kristen, you had shared networking as well, which is fantastic. We have different groups in our own organization, young professional group that we started to really help support associates to grow and develop. And then the other thing is that IDP. So before I jump into kind of that next section about IDP and core competencies for our organization, I want to pause here and see what questions do you have or things you want to discuss from a prepare standpoint. Nothing? Okay. So one of the things that I know as I was talking even to Christopher about the succession planning with the organization, one of the things that stands out is that in addition to that individual development plan, in addition to performance, we also look at some like characteristics or areas that we feel are very important for an organization that our associates focus on. And so we have 7. So as you can see on your screen here, I have shared our 7 different areas that we focus on, which include communication, obviously extremely important in any organization, as well as diversity inclusion, functional and technical expertise, positive impact, problem solving, results orientation, and then team player and coaching and developing others. So we really work towards that well-rounded associate and look to be able to support them and grow and develop in these areas as well. So our organization will also have conversations between the associates and leadership focusing on these things and identifying, where are their opportunities to develop and where are their strengths and how do we utilize that as an organization? Because like I said, we are invested in our associates and we want to see them grow and develop and successfully, continue to grow and move on to different roles. And ultimately you're going to hear, when you talk to whether it's recruiting or individuals in the organization, our focus is hire to retire. We want to not only find that top talent, we want to retain that top talent. And how do we do that? So by having opportunities like this, where we focus on these areas, really helps us to be able to provide support to associates. The cool thing with the organization is they've actually taken the time to provide a description for each of these. And then in that detailed description, they also categorize examples. So as an associate, an individual contributor to the organization, these are some of the expectations, right? So if you think about communication, we start at that basic level of, grammar and punctuation, some of those things. And then as you continue to advance in roles, whether it is looking at being in leadership, maybe it's an individual contributor, being in leadership where you are leading others, where you get to that senior leadership, executive leadership level, they've identified what are things and expectations that we want to see in each of these categories. So one of the things that has really pushed me is, as I look to what do I want to be when I grow up, and as I look at what do I want to do next, I have the ability to not only look at, okay, the bucket that I'm in, where should I be at, right? What is my expectation for communication or positive impact? But I also look at that next level. So in our list, it just goes from top to bottom. So if I am in that first group here and I'm looking at, hey, you know what, proper grammar and punctuation, what is that next level going to challenge me with? Maybe it's going to be effectively, what's a good example? Effectively providing updates and information to direct reports. So how do I start to challenge myself with that next list to start to grow and develop? So it's kind of like a roadmap for associates to figure out those next steps to really help them grow to that area that they are looking to grow. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or anything that your organization does to prepare your associates to grow and develop and move from that succession planning standpoint? I know we had a lot of great ideas for Explore too. Anything that stands out to you? All right. So then our last section is actually going to be the take action. So this is the build your resume, prepare to be interviewed. This is the actionable part of I've identified what I want to do or what I'm looking to, how to grow. I put in the time and the effort to get ready. Now is the actual, let's do this. And I cannot stress enough, having the associates explore and prepare all the time sets them up for success when an opportunity does arise. In our organization, we have a lot of opportunities that come up pretty quickly. And I can speak for myself, even from this last position, if I would have not put the time and the effort to explore and prepare what my next steps were, I can guarantee you I would not have been ready for this new role that I have had the opportunity to take. And so by having this, setting this environment of continuously learning and growing and developing really sets the stage to allow the associates to be ready anytime that an opportunity arises. Because like we've said, things are constantly changing, right? Things are constantly moving. So being able to do the work on the front end really allows for associates to feel prepared when those opportunities do come up, because a lot of times I know from our organization, they pop up pretty quickly. And if you haven't prepared and you're not ready to go, or you haven't really thought about it and haven't shown those opportunities to grow and develop, you haven't had the opportunity to network, grab a mentor, it can be more challenging. So any way that we can find opportunities to make it easier for our associates to be able to continue to grow and develop and change roles and find new opportunities really makes the process a lot easier and not as overwhelming. All right. So I threw a lot of information out there at you. I want to get your feedback though. So what I'm going to do is go back to my screen here. So I know we talked about what are things that we want to make sure that either you have or that the company provides. And a lot of it is all about that communication, opportunities, feedback, support, all of that. I want to get your feedback on what is something that you either through this conversation that triggered you to start thinking about something you want to do for yourself or something as if you're in HR or you are part of the have the opportunity to be a part of succession planning for your organization or for someone else. What is that 1 degree change? So we really like to focus on what are the small things that you can do that still have a significant impact. So I want to get your thoughts. So if you are not logged in, and actually I'm going to copy the link here and I can put it in the chat to get you directly to this page here. But go back to your Menti screen. And I would love for you to enter in what is one thing that you are going to walk away thinking about or looking to make that 1 degree change from a succession planning standpoint. All right, so we'll see these responses come in here. Be an active learner. I love it. It can be extremely challenging. I totally agree and 100% understand that one. Reintroduce develop planning concepts. Awesome. Make more time to think about career development for myself and my team. You know, I really like that one because I feel like for me, for myself, a lot of what I do is really focusing on supporting others. The new hires that come in, focusing, getting them up and running. And when you have that focus on your team or you're focusing on others, sometimes you forget about yourself. Have more succession planning conversations more frequently with staff, exploring opportunities for job shadows, both for myself and my team. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for the time today. I really appreciate it. I know I threw a lot at you. I could talk about this for hours and days, and I'm super passionate about supporting associates and definitely would love to connect with anybody if you have any questions. But I want to open it up to see what questions you have for me.
You covered everything.
I don't think so. There's a lot to cover.
That is for sure. All right. Well, if no one else has any questions, thank you again, Carrie, for joining us. We do absolutely appreciate you taking the time to share some of this information. Tons of great work going on at Schneider in the succession planning and the development opportunities. So with that, we do have one last session in the Employer's Playbook for Talent series, April 19th, Millipore Sigma. Paul Griffin will be joining us to talk a little bit about some data and statistics behind the professional development and succession planning that he is working with. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you again, Carrie, for joining us. And with that, I will sign off. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.